Hi everyone, and welcome to today's AdWords Hangout. My name's Kathleen, and I'm on the AdWords team in Dublin. I am joined today by two lovely gentlemen, Joe, a Global Product Lead for GDN Optimization, who is based out of our Chicago office, and also Ale, our Product Manager for GDN Auto-Targeting, who is in sunny California, although I hear it's slightly rainy there today. So today we will be talking about the flagship auto-targeting product, Display Campaign Optimizer. Joe and Ale will talk to us about how Display Campaign Optimizer actually works. We're going to bust a few myths and misconceptions about the product, and then we might get to some frequently asked questions. So, as this is an office hours segment, we invite any and all of your questions which are related to the feature today, Display Campaign Optimizer. You will see the Q&A feature to the right of this video if you're watching live from the Google Plus page, so please feel free to post away, and we'll get to them after our main content. Just as a reminder, if you are watching this as a recording from our YouTube page, you'll see we put timestamps in the description so you can hop around and watch what's relevant to you. And if you are watching from the YouTube channel, why not go ahead and subscribe so you are always updated about our regular Hangouts and our AdWords quick tips as well as our office hours. So if you do ever miss an event, you can come back and watch the recordings and learn all about AdWords. So what I'm going to do now is hand it over to our two specialists today, Joe and Ale. Why don't you guys take it away?
Thanks so much, Kathleen. My name is Joe Larkin. As Kathleen mentioned, I am the Global Product Lead for GDN Optimization. And today we wanted to talk through a few topics around Display Campaign Optimizer, starting with just an introduction to what the product is and what it does. And then I'll turn it over to Ale to talk a little bit about how the product actually works and what it's doing under the hood. Then we'll do a quick recap of where you actually find it in AdWords and how to get set up with it. And once we're through that, we will hopefully bust some common myths and misconceptions about the product, and then would love to answer any questions that you folks have around how to use DCO, what it is, what it does, and all those fun topics. So, just to get started, a quick overview of DCO for those of you who aren't familiar with it. It is an auto-targeting product. What that means is instead of manually selecting all of your targeting criteria for the GDN, we will explore for you and find targeting criteria for you. It is the easiest or best way to get conversions in the GDN. First, it is very simple. There is no targeting you have to set up, no optimization work you have to do. It is just one checkbox in the AdWords UI. So when you are setting up your display campaign, you can just go into the targeting settings, check the box, and you will be up and running. Second is that it is great to drive more conversions. So across most campaigns, we're seeing a 20% uplift in the volume of conversions. So we're giving you more leads, more sales, and moreover, it is precise. So as opposed to just rising costs and CPAs, most of the campaigns, around 90% of them, are very, very close to the target CPA that the campaign is running on. So we are driving volume, and we are doing it at or near your CPA. And as I mentioned, this is an auto-targeting product, and it's not just picking targets and sticking with them, it is learning on the fly. So DCO is constantly looking to find out what's working for you, what's not working for you, what areas of the GDN can we keep exploring, all while trying to drive more conversions and keep costs in line with your CPA targets. That being said, I will throw it over to Ale to talk a little bit about what goes on under the hood.
Sure. So basically, the basic approach that DCO takes is very straightforward, and it's actually something that most of you do manually as well when you try to optimize your campaign. So basically, how do you optimize your campaign generally? You have a target audience in mind. You have creatives that are targeted towards that audience, and you're thinking about how should I reach that audience. So I can select certain keywords that I think are relevant to my target audience. I can select certain demographics or certain geolocations, certain language profiles, etc. You try to basically describe your target audience. Then you target, you try it, and you look at the data. And then from the data, you see which segments of your target audience convert well and which don't. And you basically adjust your targeting and go back. And you do that very regularly, and you more or less frequently come into the AdWords UI or into and you review the data, and you basically try to optimize your campaigns. So what DCO does is basically the same thing, except we do it much faster, continuously, on the fly, very broad, and very statistically significant. So how it works is the following. We start with learning from your campaign settings, from contextual signals that we have in terms of your creatives, your landing page, etc. and from various customer signals that we have from your current, your previous conversions. We basically try to learn what you're trying to achieve. Then we target, which is we basically bid in auctions on the Google Display Network. We try to show your creative, we try to show your ads on certain sites, and we see what works and what doesn't work. And then we continuously optimize that. So we have a feedback loop that continuously reviews which ads got clicked, which ads got converted, and we adjust the bids and we adjust the targets continuously. And we repeat this cycle continuously. And so we basically try, learn, and improve over time, and we expand over time. So we keep the good performing targets, we keep things that work well for you, we remove things that don't work well for you, and we try to find more. And as Joe said, we do that while sticking to your target CPA that you gave us, the cost that you want to pay for each conversion. And under the hood, we're also using, and I guess most of you are familiar with that, the product called Conversion Optimizer, which does real-time bidding. To, let's say you want to pay $10 for a conversion, we try to optimize, using Conversion Optimizer, how much to bid for a specific ad that is shown somewhere to make sure we end up with, let's say, that $10 cost per conversion. And so this cycle, we learn, we try, we optimize, we learn, we target, we optimize, we learn, we target, we optimize, we repeat continuously at scale across the GDN, and we basically therefore find more stuff for you. So a little bit more on how we learn, if we go to the next page, is we have lots of different signals that we look at. Basically, we look at a campaign level or an ad group level, where we basically try to learn from your current campaign settings, your manual targeting criteria that you may have put in place, your previous historical targeting criteria, things that have performed well for you in the past or are performing well for you today. We look at contextual signals. So, for example, we look at the semantic context of your creative, the semantic content of your landing page. We, of course, compare that with all the different placements, so sites across the GDN where we could potentially show your ad, and do a contextual relevance there. And we look at customer signals. So, of course, we look at people who clicked on your ad, people who converted on your ad. What are the signals that we can get from them? What is their demographic? What is their location? Do specific demographic convert better for you than others? And as I said, we have a continuous feedback loop where we look at all those signals, and we basically try to figure out what is the driver of more conversions here. Are young people converting better for you? Then we target more young people. Are North American people converting better for you? We target more North American people. And so we continuously optimize here for more conversions while staying at the target bid that you set for us. So if you, again, tell us, I don't want to pay more than $10 for conversion, we'll try to not pay more than $10 for conversion. So this is a little bit of how it works under the hood. Details are, of course, more fine-grained, and we are continuously optimizing and changing our algorithms in terms of what signals we use. So, as Joe said in the beginning, why would you want to use DCO, and why many of you are using DCO today is, first of all, it saves in general a lot of time, because we do automatically what you do otherwise manually. We manage and optimize your content continuously on the fly for you. The GDN is very big, it's very diverse, and it's changing continuously. So manually trying different targeting settings and figuring out what works and what doesn't work and do all the statistical analysis is difficult, it's very time consuming, and it's changing every day. So if you want to do this manually, you have to come in and change and look at this every day basically, and we do that for you. And we do it more often than every day. Secondly, we explore. So things that you know that work, you can put them in, there is no problem. We fully respect your manual criteria and we don't compete with your manual criteria. But things that you don't know that work, we explore for you. And we find more things that you didn't know that would work for you. So we find additional segments that you weren't aware of. This is a common feedback we get from customers, for advertisers, is this is fantastic, I'm finding segments I had no clue were performing well for me. And the third reason is, the simplest reason is this actually works. We get you more conversions at your target CPA, and the numbers Joe gave you in the beginning, they are, of course, it's very difficult to tell you how your campaign will perform, because it depends on lots of different things. But across the board, we see more than 90% of our campaigns today, DCO campaigns, stay at their target CPA. So we achieve your return on investment that you ask for us, and we get you more conversions. So it's a good thing. We save you time, we find the inventory, and we get you more conversions. Joe, how do we actually enable this? Where is the one checkbox?
I'm so glad you asked. So the checkbox lives in the Display Network tab in the AdWords UI. So when you are in the Display Network tab, you will see a giant red targeting button, which you would typically use to add manual targets to your campaigns and ad groups, things like keywords or user lists. When you click into that, if you scroll down a little bit, there will be a box called Targeting Optimization. And it says something along the lines of Get More Conversions Display Campaign Optimizer. When you check that box, that is your opt-in to Display Campaign Optimizer. And this checkbox lives at the ad group level. So you would go into the campaign, you would click on whichever ad group you want to run DCO on, click into that targeting box, and then you just have this one checkbox in the UI to enable. So not too complicated, just one box you have to fill out. A couple quick notes about this. We always recommend running Conversion Optimizer with DCO just to make sure that you are pegged to a target CPA or a target return on ad spend, and that you're leveraging Conversion Optimizer to make sure that we're bidding efficiently on all the exploration that we're doing. So all you're really doing, you're setting a budget, you're giving us some creatives as a starting point, setting a target CPA or target ROAS, checking the box, and you're off and running. There is one barrier to entry here in that we need conversion tracking. We learn from the conversion data. We learn what works and what doesn't work based on conversion rate and based on CPA. So just as a starting point, the campaign that you're enabling this in needs to have at least 15 conversions in the last 30 days. Otherwise, we won't give you the option because we don't have enough confidence to explore until we have that conversion data. And with that said, I will throw it over to Kathleen to bring up a few myths and misconceptions around the product.
Great, thanks guys. So let's clear up some common questions about this feature. So is it true that DCO is only for big clients that have thousands of conversions and have an exceptionally high budget for the GDN?
So I'll take that one. That's an easy one. The answer is no. We don't care if you're a big or a small client. You need at least 15 conversions. But how much you spend on those conversions, we don't care. We optimize for the conversion. So there is a barrier. It's 15 conversions in the last 30 days, but your budget is not that relevant. Actually, I pulled data yesterday. More than 50% of our active campaigns spend less than $75 a month. So those, I wouldn't say, are very big campaigns. So yeah, we have huge spenders. We have people who spend 10,000 a day, but we also have lots of very small spenders.
That's great. That means that any advertiser, whichever size, can avail of this feature, which is fantastic. So let's talk about existing keyword and contextual targeting for campaigns that you're running. Will DCO steal traffic from these campaigns and force you to pay more for the same clicks?
Sure, I can take that one. The answer is no, that's not true. So there are actually two different ways you can run DCO. And this gets to the question that James posted in the Hangout. So when you check the box, if you already have manual targeting in that ad group, so say you have keyword targeting in that ad group, when you check that box, we're running DCO in more of a passive mode, where we won't actually enter into any auctions that your manual targets are entering into. So when you activate DCO in a campaign that already has targets, we are not even going near that traffic. So absolutely not. We do not steal that traffic, and there is no competition. And that's more of the passive mode. The second option is you can actually enable DCO in a blank campaign with absolutely no manual targeting criteria. So you can have a standalone display campaign optimizer campaign. In this, we do run DCO in more of an aggressive mode, so this is more of a true exploration. And it is possible that we would enter into some of the same auctions that manual targets in other campaigns are already entering into. But we're not stealing traffic by any means. We will only ever select one ad from your account and from your display URL to actually serve on a site. So you are not driving up your own CPCs. We're just going to take whichever ad is most relevant to the user and serve it. Sometimes it might be the ad from the manual campaign, and sometimes it might be the ad from the display campaign optimizer campaign. But you're never competing with yourself and driving up your own CPCs. The only challenge that it introduces is sometimes traffic will flow between the two campaigns, and it becomes somewhat of a reporting issue. but we do not steal traffic, and you're not competing with yourself when you run DCO.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Let's talk about your return on investment. Can DCO hurt your ROI because it does exploration or auto-targeting?
Yeah, let me take that one. As I said, in general, not. As I said, over 90% of our campaigns that we are running today are within your return on, your ROI target, which means basically we're hitting your target CPA, your target cost per conversion that you gave us. Yeah, exploration has some cost associated to it, of course, because we are trying segments that we are not completely sure they are performing well for you. That's there is an inherent cost in exploration, is that we try to find more, and if we were 100% sure, this would be relatively trivial, but nobody is ever 100% sure. That said, there is actually quite some volatility in general in the GDN. The network is changing a lot in general, so even your manual campaigns also have some volatility associated to them. And so when we run the comparison, the ROI on DCO campaigns here, so how often we hit your target CPA, is really, really, really good. And as Joe said, we use CO behind the scenes, conversion optimizer, to make sure we really hit your target CPA goals. So no, in practice, I don't see us hurting your ROI at all. And now to answer some quick questions that I see on the Hangout as well, Tom is asking, is this available in the UK? Yes, of course it is. So please go ahead. Michael Johnston is asking a somewhat more nuanced question. How does this work for brand campaigns? So if I have a brand campaign where my conversion is I wanted people to view or download a song, and the actual conversion of, let's say, selling a T-shirt is only coming down the line, how does DCO work in that example? So the answer I would give is relatively straightforward. We care for conversions. We don't care what you denote as a conversion. So you can, for example, now denote an engagement with your ad to be a conversion. So there is ad formats that we have that viewers can engage with and ping that back to us as a conversion, and then we optimize for those. We don't do very well optimizing, across the funnel and attributing the very last conversion to the very initial engagement. That is something we are not very good at. But in general, if you are able to tell us what a conversion is, it doesn't need to be a sell, it doesn't need to be a sign up, it can be whatever you want. As long as you tell us what a conversion looks like, we optimize for it. Joe, anything to add on that one?
I think you nailed that one.
Okay. Let's take the next one next, please.
Okay, so let's talk about the best client to use DCO. Does it work for everybody, or is it only working for people who are focused on driving leads or shallow conversions? I guess this kind of touches on the question that Michael just asked.
Sure. Yeah, I think the answer that Ale gave was pretty close to touching on this. We care about conversions. It doesn't matter what type of conversion it is, whether it's a lead or whether it's a sale. All we care about is finding more of those conversions for you. So by no means is this only applicable to lead generation clients or only applicable to e-commerce clients. It works for anyone that wants to drive more conversions. Lead generation is fairly straightforward in the sense that you get a conversion online and we will drive more of them. E-commerce is actually more of an interesting example. What we've seen a lot of success with recently is clients layering target ROAS with DCO, where instead of just trying to drive more conversions or more sales for their e-commerce site, they're trying to drive better value of their sales. And they're using DCO as a tool to explore and to try to find high-value sales at their target ROI. And when we look across our entire book, the diversity of clients is quite large. So just in our top 5 verticals, we have media and entertainment, we have retail, and we have EDU. So there's a pretty broad distribution of clients that are using DCO.
Okay, awesome. I might keep going with some Mythbusters, and we'll kind of get to our questions that were submitted afterwards. So is it true that DCO only finds keywords for you, and it's only contextual expansion?
No, that is not true. So that we target lots of different things for you. We basically use, or we try to use all the power of the GDN to target for you. So almost everything that you can target manually, we target for you automatically. So manually, for example, you can set keywords, but you can also set topics targeting. You can do audience targeting in terms of interest or interest categories that people are interested in, or in market segments nowadays. You can target on the GDN. So people who are in the market to buy, let's say, shoes, we can target all of those. And actually, around 30% of all the conversions we generate or all the spend we generate is actually on audience targeting. So as I said before, we use lots of different signals to learn. We use contextual signals, we do use audience signals, and then from those signals we generate lots of different targeting types. And we target on keywords, but we also target on audience signals.
Okay, awesome. I have 3 more Mythbusters to get through, and then we'll get to all these questions that our viewers are posting. So is it true that there's a common phrase that DCO is a black box? I never know when my ads are showing, how I'm performing, or whether it's working. Could one of you guys elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'll take that one because it's actually true. I think it is indeed a little bit of a black box. So the only way today to see how DCO is doing for you is, and there are some questions alluding to that also on the side that we'll get to hopefully, is you can either set it up on a standalone campaign and you can basically see its performance directly in AdWords, but that has the downside, as some people are asking. The downside of that is you're kind of diluting your traffic because you will have some traffic on a manual campaign and then you set a separate campaign and we only see a fraction of that traffic basically, and you do that for reporting purposes. But it's a little bit of a waste because you're diluting your traffic. The other way you can see your DCO performance, and if you go into the AdWords help site, we explain it there a little bit, is you can go into the placement report and then segment by auto versus manual placements, auto placements being the ones that we put there for you. And then you can basically aggregate that data and just see in general how does DCO perform. So, how is my auto, how many conversions did I drive on my auto portion of the traffic. So that is what we offer for you today, and it's actually not very insightful, I would say. So we are working very hard to open up the black box a little bit. We're working on explaining to you how we are performing, so that it's much more simple to see how many conversions we're driving for you versus what you are driving yourself with your manual targets. Also explain to you a little bit of what we target for you. So, the fact that we do keyword targeting, but also, let's say, topic targeting or audience targeting, and also give you a sample of criteria that we found that convert well for you. So, high-performing keywords, high-performing interest categories, etc. To give you a little bit of insight into what we're doing, and so that you can learn also more about your campaign and potentially also optimize your creatives for your target audience. So yeah, we are working very hard on opening it up, so stay tuned. If you have suggestions also in terms of what you'd like to see, put them in the questions here on the side, or reach out through your, whatever Google contact you have, reach out and give feedback to us. We're working on this very hard.
Great, awesome.
Yeah.
So talk to me about DCO traffic. Can it be volatile, or is it prone to any sudden shutting off? Is it something that we can expect to be consistent?
Yeah, good question, and it's a concern we get very frequently. So DCO is slightly volatile, but almost by design, because we are an exploration tool. We are constantly looking to try to find more criteria for you to serve on, and constantly pruning and refining that. So at any given time, we might be entering your ad onto 1,000 different criteria, and we might expand onto 10 new ones one day, or drop 5 the next day. And so there will always be very slight traffic fluctuations on a day-to-day basis as we test out new criteria and roll back other criteria that we decided weren't performing well. But the idea of DCO campaigns suddenly just plummeting in traffic or dropping completely is very, very rare. And typically when we've looked at instances where DCO traffic has all of a sudden skyrocketed or all of a sudden dropped off, it's almost always due to external factors. So changes made to the campaign, such as significant changes to the target CPA or target ROAS, significant changes to creatives, significant changes to budget, all these external factors that can have a huge impact on the campaign. So we do expect traffic to shift very, very slightly day to day as we're constantly exploring, and that's the design of the product. But any serious swings in traffic are very, very frequently due to external factors. Just as a general rule of thumb, if you are managing a DCO campaign, any significant changes will definitely impact performance and traffic. So if you're running on a $10 target CPA and all of a sudden you raise it to $20, you can expect traffic to go way up. Conversely, if you lower the CPA, you can expect it to go down. If you've been running on the same creatives with the same display URL for 3 months, and then you delete all of your creatives and add new ones, it's going to have a significant effect on quality score, and it's going to affect the ability that DCO has to learn. So all these external changes do impact traffic, and we just recommend that these changes are rolled out slightly. So if you do need to change bid, change it in small increments. If you need to change budget, change it in small increments. If you have to change creatives or introduce new creatives, do it slowly. So create the new ads, let them run alongside the old ads, and then pause the old ads. A lot of sharp changes will definitely affect performance, the same as it would in any manual campaign.
Great. Okay. Yeah, and those are great rules of thumb to implement on any campaign, not just one using DCO as well. Okay.
So we have lots of data on volatility. We are, in terms of your CPA, hitting your CPA targets, we are not volatile. We do almost as good as CO. So that means, and CO is very, very, very stable in terms of meeting your CPA. We are doing much, much better than your manual targeting and manual bidding. In terms of spend, we are indeed a little bit volatile, but it's also by nature because we actually explore more. So, 1 week you will get some more, 1 week you will get some less. To add to Joe's points, the most common cases where we see DCO traffic go up and down very significantly is, 1, broken conversion tracking. So if we lose the conversion signal, all of a sudden, we stop spending, and it's usually there is a problem. 2 is, a broken landing page or broken creatives, or a suspended creatives for policy reasons, whatever. If there are no creatives or if the landing page doesn't resolve, we stop spending. And 3 is major shifts in target CPA, and then that has major influence. And I'll answer one quick question also that somebody's asking on the side. We'll follow up on all these questions offline because I see we have only very little time left. But I'll take one quickly now. Julian Werner is asking, how do I set up a DCO campaign in this standalone mode without any targeting? How do I actually get to 50 conversions then? I don't understand. So that's a very good question. There is 2 ways. One is you actually first set up a campaign with targeting. Once you reach 15 conversions, you enable DCO and you remove all the manual targeting. That's one. It's a bit awkward. And we're working to resolve that, but that's currently the one way. The other way is if you have actually an internal Google contact, an account manager. If you have sufficient conversions on a different account, or on the same account on a different campaign, on the same display URL, we can do some internal things to actually migrate those conversions to the new campaign. So if you have an internal Google contact, you can reach out and they can actually make you eligible also on the new campaign, and we shift the conversions around and we share the learning. But that's not by default exposed in the UI, in the AdWords UI. So there are ways around these 15 conversion eligibility. So Kathleen, do we have any time left, or do we need to take those other questions?
No, we can keep going. Let's answer the last questions that we have, the last question we have here. So why don't you kind of go through our questions for our advertisers here that they put?
Yeah, sure. So Bruno, ciao from Italy, ciao back. James, what is the benefit of using DCO in existing versus a new one? So as I said, I think, so there's 2 reasons I think that people today are using DCO in a standalone campaign. One is to have more clean reporting, because the AdWords UI is not that user-friendly sometimes, and if you have a standalone campaign, it's much easier to see how it's performing. That's a little bit of a waste, because as I said, you're diluting your traffic. So we only see the traffic, or we only take into consideration the traffic and the conversions on your DCO campaign or your DCO ad groups. So if you have, let's say, 80% of your traffic on a separate campaign, but it's actually the same traffic, it's a waste that you're separating the 2, but people do it for reporting reasons, but I advise against it. The second reason I think that people are doing quite commonly is to limit the budget, because you don't fully trust that we actually respect your CPA. So you say, I have a manual campaign on a $10 CPA, but I give it $100 a day, and I'll do a DCO campaign on the same $10 CPA, but I'll give it only $10 a day, because I'm not sure that DCO is actually able to respect my CPA. So on that, I understand. We are not, maybe we don't give you enough transparency, but I would say again, in general, we do respect your CPA. Over 90% of our campaigns today, we hit your CPA goals, and that's again much better than you do manually. So I would again not advise to do that, but it's I think why people use it. quickly, Michael, you're asking, would we give you some insight in the targeting criteria that we found for your new video? Yeah, as I said, we're working on that. Again, if you have a Google contact point, like an account manager or whatever, you can request them. We can give you some insight on a one-on-one basis, but it's not available publicly right now, but we're working on it. Gideon, yeah, pros and cons of turning DCO on an existing campaign. I think I just answered that. And what is new with DCO? How has it improved over the last year or two? So a couple of things. So one, we have worked very hard on quality improvements in terms of the algorithm. So that is in terms of volatility and meeting your CPA. We have improved a lot. The numbers are much better. Customer feedback, I think, is much better. And we have done a lot of work on our side. Secondly, we are targeting much more than we did like 2 years ago. As I said, we don't target only keywords, for example, now. And we did mostly target keywords about 2 years ago, as far as I know. So that's the second difference. That's, I think, the two main things. Joe, add please if I forgot something.
I think you hit most of them.
Okay, and then quickly, Cynthiana, how much time should we give DCO to learn when running a first test? We generally say 1 to 2 weeks. 1 to 2 weeks.
One point to add on that as well is it's definitely dependent on conversion volume. And when you're analyzing results, you need to make sure that you are conscious of how long the sales or conversion cycle is. So if you want to run a test for 1 week, but typically the time for a click to turn into a conversion for you is 2 weeks, analyzing results after 1 week isn't going to be incredibly effective because you'll be looking at a full week's worth of cost and clicks and not all of the conversions as you're expecting more to come in over the next week or so. So if you have insight into how long your conversion cycle is or how long your sales cycle is, just make sure that when you run a test, you activate it for a long enough time period that all the conversions will come in. So if you have a 1 week conversion lag from the time it takes a click to convert, run it for 2 weeks, 2 full weeks, and then look at that first week, and you should have 100% of the data in there, and you'll be able to make a very, very educated decision as to whether or not DCO is effective for you.
Yeah. And also, coming back to what Joe mentioned earlier, it went maybe a bit fast, but we have two things that are very interesting for these delayed conversions. One is offline conversion uploading. It's general in AdWords. You can upload your conversions for up to 90 days after the click event, and DCO takes those into account. So if you have these long cycles where you actually get leads from us, but let's say you call them or whatever, you follow up, and you should still tell us if they convert. And so you can do the offline conversion upload again back to us, and we actually optimize for those conversions. Secondly, you can report back conversion values. So that's especially relevant for e-commerce clients, but also for people that want to track different types of conversions. You can report to us conversion values and then give us a target return on ad spend and say, I want to have $10 return for every dollar I spend on AdWords. And then if you report to us that different customer segments, for example, have a different value for you, or they bought different things, so the order value is different, you can report whatever value you want back to us. It's just a relative notion that one conversion is worth more than the other. Please report that back to us, conversion values, and we optimize for it. So we'll try to find you more high-value conversions instead of low-value conversions. So when people tell us, like, I don't want to automatically optimize for conversions because they are not all equal, well, they aren't, and that's why you should give us your conversion values so we optimize for the high-value conversions. Then let's do one more question from James Hamilton. Should I create new DCO ad groups based off unique creative landing pages or both? How much does it weigh, creative versus landing page, when auto-optimizing? That's a little bit of a difficult question to answer in general. Should I create unique creatives, landing pages, or both?
One, just while you're thinking about that, one important note is just that while DCO is learning what's working and what's not working, it's looking very heavily at your domain, your display URL, and it's learning based on the creatives in the ad group. So if you have one very specific theme of creatives tied to a display URL, keep it in one ad group. And if you have a completely different set of creatives with a different theme and a different style landing page, moving them to a separate ad group may help learning quite a bit, but it also splits out reporting for you at the ad group level, which makes it a lot easier for you to see what's working.
And on top of that, so the learning that I mentioned in terms of the landing page and the creatives and lots of other signals, that's basically all what we call the bootstrapping learning. So that's the initial set of targets that we generate for you. And then, as I said, there is the continuous feedback loop where we learn from the actual data from users clicking and converting or clicking and not converting what is working for you. So in terms of should you do standalone new creatives, new landing page, how do you optimize those? Well, the rough rule of thumb is if you think there is a dedicated target audience that converts better for specific with specific creative, specific landing page, you can set that up and separate it. We'll generate a dedicated set of criteria for them, but then we will learn if that actually converts good or not on the over time. Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult question actually in general, so it depends a little bit. If you want, reach out to your Google contact, and they'll find us, and we can follow up more in detail. Okay, the other ones, I see some open questions from Irving and Gideon, but I'll follow up with you guys offline. I'll find you.
Yeah, we will make sure to post a full recap of this Hangout with all of the questions and full answers from our product specialists, because I know that there seems to be huge interest in this and we could keep going all day. So look out for that post on our G+ page. And if you have any questions after that, feel free to post on the social media network, and we will make sure to loop in Joe and Hale for those answers. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. This was a really successful office hours, and I'm glad we were able to get a good conversation going. I just really want to say thank you to both of Joe and Ale for joining us today. Thanks a million, guys. That was really great. So make sure to tune in for our next Hangout office hours. They will always, of course, be posted on our G+ and all of our social media pages online. So thanks a million, guys. It was great chatting to you, and we'll sign off from there. Bye.
Thanks so much.